So here we are, May advisory meeting for the Broadband Consortium Pacific Coast. Thank you all for joining us. If you just joined us or if you haven't yet, please introduce yourself in the chat. We would love for you to include your name, the organization you're with, and the role you play there. What part of our region do you serve? And if there's anything additional you want people to know as you take advantage of this opportunity to network with other stakeholders in our region. It's great to see such a variety of stakeholders here. So thank you so much for everyone for taking the time. We have an agenda full of updates today and ample room for discussion alongside of that. So if you have any comments or more updated information than we're sharing, or if you know more about, if you've read the governor's budget revise in more detail than I have, please don't hesitate to unmute yourself and share what you know with the rest of us. Let me just not moving through this the way I wanted to. So first we'll go through some Broadband for All updates from each of the different programs. Excuse me. We do want to just amplify the request for any of our providers or municipalities who are interested in engaging in infrastructure funded projects, CASF infrastructure projects, to complete the survey. So we sent out a survey to all of our ISP partners. If you didn't get it, we can send it to you. And also we had sent a survey out to municipalities earlier in this year, asking really similar questions. So we'll go over that survey and priority area projects and open for questions or discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about CalDEP, and we will also then just sort of source updates from those of you who are on the call to share with us any updates you have from the status of projects in your area. I'd love to hear about it. And then a little bit of rearranging meetings for the rest of the year. So we want to put that on your radar now so that we can plan accordingly. So a middle mile update. We have had an opportunity to meet with Mackenzie Shea and the project implementation team for the CDT's middle mile network. The updates so far, you can see on the map here, anything that is in yellow is currently in the installation phase of the middle mile network implementation. Anything that's in blue is in pre-construction. So pre-construction includes design, engineering, permitting.
We're not seeing the map yet, still agenda.
Oh, you're not? Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you.
All the great.
Now we're seeing it now? Okay, awesome. I'm navigating between my page that has the notes and the other page, and it's just a little trickier than I expected it to be.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the colors again now that we're looking at it?
Yeah, no problem. So the yellow is installation phase and the blue is pre-construction. So pre-construction is going to be our engineering, design, and permitting. Installation could be anything from conduit, vault placement, fiber poles, splicing, hut placement, power connection, and electronics installation. So they're at some point in that process in any of the yellow routes. We're making progress. I would say specifically, we got an update on Ventura County and San Luis Obispo County back in January, and they have made some progress in San Luis Obispo County moving from pre-construction to installation. Santa Barbara and Ventura County are in basically the same place that they had been as of January. When I checked yesterday, it was in basically the same place. You can check this information if you want to monitor it on the state's MMBI map. Oops. And we can pop that link in there. I don't know if Michael or Malika can draw that link up real quick and pop it in the chat for everybody. But you can monitor as you'd like. If you want to connect with the Middle Mile team about locations for huts that you would like to see integrated, or places where you'd like to splice in, they are really open to meeting with everyone. So I would encourage you to reach out to them. We're happy to make the introduction for you if you don't already have a contact with their team. These pictures from this on the side here are actually from Santa Barbara County. Very exciting. Lumen is pulling fiber through the railway line there and sent those pictures out as an update. Let's see here. Any other updates on Middle Mile? Does anyone have questions? One more update I can share is they did release the pricing for connecting into the Middle Mile to FFA awardees. So the FFA awardees are able now to start planning their operational budgets. I believe that the pricing for non-FFA awardees will be released in August. If anyone can confirm or deny that they've heard that also.
Is there a reason those rates would be different?
Yeah, the FFA requires them to connect into the Middle Mile. And they have a cap for FFA awardees charges. So the operational costs for non-FFA awardees is not confined to that cap.
Yeah, and then it's too late to go ask for $100 worth of FFA now, right?
Right? Yeah.
Just to take advantage.
Well, I don't know. I suppose it depends on who you talk to. Are they going to disperse the remaining FFA funds throughout each county? Maybe. I'm still a little optimistic that will happen at some point. I didn't see anything in the governor's budget that specifically indicated that they would or would not. Again, I haven't been able to really dig deep in.
There's that new, there's a bill going through talking about a broadband group for the state of California that would take over all of the responsibility for broadband. And one of the things they said was, it was what do they call it? The extra money out of FFA. There's a particular name for that. They specifically called out that, like,
interesting,
that it would monitor that fund of extra money, which I thought was kind of interesting that it was called out that way. I had never heard, we're working with the city of SLO in our PPP agreement on the FFA grant. And of course, we don't need any Middle Mile there because we are the internet and we are here. So obviously we wouldn't need to use Middle Mile because there isn't any. So yeah, so I've never heard about any requirement to use the Middle Mile.
I thought that the FFA application did obligate you, no?
I don't think it obligated us to. It made it available to us to use if we needed it.
Right.
But to Jeff's point, our application didn't have any Middle Mile in it because we already had connectivity there, and we were engaging with a third party that was going to operate the network that had connectivity. We did, in case anybody's thinking about talking with these folks, we did meet with them. And so there are a couple other things we're talking about doing with Middle Mile to potentially connect some of our other city facilities that are just off the beaten path, that are in our plans to get fiber to in the next like 15 years. But we may be able to do much more quickly based on where they're planning to put that Middle Mile fiber. So they seem very reasonable. They didn't have pricing available at all, like you said, until probably August. So we're waiting on that for that piece. And I don't think they had finalized some of the huts and things in San Luis Obispo County, but maybe they're getting closer to that. So
it'd be great to see them run up the coast. That's the part that,
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's gonna happen, but
right,
I think the design aspect, like the route, I think is finalized. They're
Yeah.
not planning to extend that route anywhere.
yeah,
But the design in terms of how they're planning to implement this route is what the pre-construction phase is. So.
we did talk to them about some of the, from a non-broadband perspective, we've got, you know, utilities and things with reservoirs up that route up into Cayucas, and we talked to them about that as a potential other driver for maybe getting that middle mile in at some point. So
Mhm.
we're trying to push to keep that on the radar if we can, but we'll see.
Great.
Yeah. Jeff, Josh, or anyone else on the call, do you know the bill number or author that you were talking about?
I'll find it.
Yeah, if you could
That'd be
let me
great.
know, that would be helpful because I can chime in on that.
Yeah, pop it into the chat. All right. Thank you both for thank you all for chiming in there. I'm actually going to take Michael up on his offer here. If you don't mind sharing your screen, Mike, then I will be able to talk through a little bit differently. Solid, thank you.
Everybody see that?
Yes. So next program, federal funding account, as we were saying, no update here, but I did find that their map plotted out beautifully the connection between the middle mile and the locations of project areas. We are still waiting for, I think, some final information about the Ventura County, Santa Paula project right there. I think they're still finalizing details, but the award has been made. So we are working on that. The reason I included this, we have seen some great advocacy from some of our CAG partners and county partners who did include, who did draft a letter to say, hey, can you please advocate for our region to get the remaining federal funding account monies? And if any of you are in a position to advocate for that, we appreciate your support in that area. I do think it was really surprising to me to hear that some of our state representatives didn't know that it hadn't all been awarded in our counties. And I think that there's room there for some more voices to pile on to how important it would be to ensure that funding does make its way all the way to the counties where it was allocated. If you'd like a copy of the letter that was shared, I can certainly connect you with the parties that drafted it and submitted it. So that is some advocacy we would genuinely appreciate the collaboration on.
I think
Next, go ahead.
if you don't mind, one thing I'll put on the radar too, we were contacted by someone out of, I think, Plumas County that they're actually starting to lobby now for extensions to the timeline for construction for FFA projects. We're not joining that effort right now because we still think we can accomplish our project in the time frame that we said we could. But it might be something to keep an eye on. I don't know how that would affect potentially additional awards if they start getting a lot of pushback from agencies that they don't think they can complete projects in a timely manner. Are they going to change some of the way they allocate funding? Are they going to do something different with applications because they don't want to get in that position? So just something to have on the radar. It does sound like there's a fairly sizable group of awardees that are maybe starting to lobby for extensions to the timeline already. So
great. Great to hear.
Yeah.
That's some good project planning right there. Is knowing right now that you're going to need an extension. Awesome. Let's move to the next slide. So the next opportunity, we just wanted to, this is what we're really here to talk about, is the CASF infrastructure grant. The Broadband Consortium, you know, one of our objectives is to make sure that all of the folks who do infrastructure to deploy high-speed internet to locations in our region know about this grant, can factor it into their project planning, and are supported throughout the application process. The CASF infrastructure grant timeline was announced. Generally, the applications are due, I want to say March 1st or April 1st of each year. Every year I've been working with the Broadband Consortium, they delay them. This year they've delayed the application deadline to October 31st in order to leverage BEAD funding and to award projects through BEAD prior to publishing the map of eligible locations for CASF infrastructure funds. So we will be seeing the broadband availability map published in July, ideally. I think that they're working really hard the team that is processing BEAD project applications is working hard to process those in a way where they will, the CASF infrastructure team will know which locations are still not meeting the served standard in our state. One thing that might be of note when we're talking about loving to see the middle mile run up the coast of San Luis Obispo County is that these projects can include middle mile, as long as it's required to reach the last mile locations that you're seeking to serve. So some of those coastal cities that are unserved, or even semi-coastal, like in Santa Barbara County, we've got Casmelia that is still unserved in this little tiny corner and isn't connected to the state middle mile. So there would be an opportunity if someone were to determine that this was a good opportunity for them, then they would be able to use some of the funds for middle mile infrastructure as well. The awards are expected to be made by next May, so it gives plenty of time for planning, far enough out for materials and staffing and project team members. We will be touching base about this again next month, potentially in July if the map is published by the date of our meeting. Otherwise, we may touch on it later in the year or reach out to you all one-on-one. This CASF infrastructure grant is the subject of the survey that we've sent out. So I'll loop back into that next, actually, if you want to move to the next slide. The CASF infrastructure team does want to know about project interest in our area. They've asked us specifically, you know, how many projects do we foresee being potentially applied for? How many entities are interested in infrastructure funding? This is not a commitment by you. This is just a potential information item for them. They haven't shared with us why. I expect that they're working on their budgeting and determining, you know, how many projects they should potentially plan for or how many entities they should plan to engage with. So we are asking you to complete our survey by today at the latest. We are required to submit this information tomorrow to CPUC. I can probably get an extension through early next week if, you know, you need a little bit more time. Anything you can provide to us would be ideal. We have identified our priority areas in from the consortium perspective, using the broadband strategic plans that have been published, what the broadband opportunity zones are, and that's not opportunity zones in the econ dev lingo. I know that means something very specific in the EDA, but the broadband opportunity zones. So areas that would benefit from providers entering either the fiber or the fixed wireless market. And we are happy to share those out. I think if you're interested, we can look a little bit at the map of them We don't know if those priority areas will be overlapping with the CASF infrastructure eligibility areas, right? Points. So that is something that remains to be seen. We do share this information up with CPUC. So if that is taken into account in their calculations, then it may be that they're available for funding as well. Any questions about that? Thoughts from the BCPC team, areas
Just
you want to
if
advocate
one of you could
for?
paste the link in the chat, Josh, that's for it. I'm not able to do it from the screen.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mo. Okay, and May 9th was the extended deadline for BEAD projects. It's pretty hard to see here in our in this screen grab from the BEAD challenge website. You can see any pink dots are considered unserved, any blue dots are considered underserved, and any green dots are already funded by other projects. Those little yellow triangles in Ventura County are the Frontier FFA project that's in process of being awarded and finalized. So you can see there are eligible areas. These do overlap between community anchor institutions and individual households. So that is something to consider, that unserved households will be awarded funding first, underserved households second, and then community anchor institutions that do not have 1 gig up and down access will be awarded third through BEAD. Great big huge elephant in the room, the statements by the president about the Digital Equity Act and the funding programs. We have not heard yet that these impact BEAD. Several states are advocating for BEAD to be expedited and to continue to be funded. The statements that the president made were specifically regarding CalDEP and the state digital equity plan. Anyone else know anything about BEAD? Have you heard anything hot off the press?
Hey, Shelby.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? It's Lisa.
Hi,
with-
Lisa.
Hi. Just wondering if you or anyone else knows the California broadband grant portal has been down since May 1st. And so apparently, I mean, I heard through the grapevine it was maybe due to a data breach. But anyway, I just saw, because you had the deadline of May 9th. I don't think it wasn't up this morning, so I don't know if
Okay.
anyone else knows anything about that or when it might come up.
And was that the BEAD portal directly?
It was the California grant portal, which I'm assuming, I mean, I don't know. Do they have?
I think
I
they
thought
had a
they had
separate BEAD
one.
portal. Does anyone know the answer to that?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know the answer to that. Oops. I was just
that's
gonna say, oh, go ahead, Chris.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Chris.
Yeah, that's the CPUC FFA grant portal. It's been down for me as well.
Okay, but BEAD is they would take BEAD applications at another portal for.
Yeah, they had I believe they had a BEAD specific portal for projects. I didn't read about anything around the deadline indicating that it had been down. So it must be that they're separate.
Okay, thank you. Just thought
But
I'd
thank
mention
you,
that.
Lisa. Yeah, and you know what? And I'm sure you've contacted them about that already, but maybe we can make a note of it and just sort of inquire what's going on there, and if it's something that we can have an update on.
That would be great. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Just gonna make a note here.
It does look like it's a different portal. If you enter it's b.grant.cpuc versus the CPUC broadband portal. Lots of different portals.
Yes.
Is it Is the FFA portal the same for the CASF grants?
It is not. They have their own map and their own portal.
Okay, interesting. So they have like 3 different portals. Okay.
Right.
No.
Yeah. I think so. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. So the BEAD process, I'm going to actually stop here for a second. Did anyone want to share any BEAD applications that they're aware of or that they submitted? We have not heard from any providers or municipalities in our region who submitted, but if anyone wants to share, I want to open up the mic for you. Also okay. So the the timeline is not actually based on time, it's based on activities. So they will be reviewing to make sure all the applications are complete. They're going to ask for revisions for anything that's incomplete. Then at that point, when every application is complete, they will score the BEAD applications based on the criteria that's already listed in the initial proposal that was approved by NTIA. Rank the projects according to the scores, deconflict any areas that overlap. So if 2 or more applicants applied for the same area, they will go back and say, hey, you know, what's your proposal for this? We want you to rewrite this project without this particular block or whatever it is, they'll deconflict it. And then they will negotiate terms with the actual selected grantees. If you are a BEAD applicant, you have 3 business days to respond to any requests for information that come through about your project. They are pretty serious, emphasizing the 3 business day turnaround on that. I think because of the compressed timeline, and they really want to meet NTIA's deadlines for their BEAD selection process. In general, California's approach to these 2 programs, BEAD and the State Digital Equity Plan, has been, we're going to do what we said we were going to do, and we'll report the information up to NTIA, and then we'll leave it up to that department to follow through with their obligation to fund these projects, or to go through whatever different process they are considering based on their leadership. So I think the state of California, even if they do have these sub-grantees selected and negotiated and in a contract, I think there will probably be a clause saying, provided that the funding comes through from the federal government. I did read that places like Louisiana and North Dakota and Vermont are really pushing hard on the administration, the federal administration, to move forward with these projects, because they are some of the first to have settled a lot of their planning efforts. Any other thoughts on BEAD? Insights? Yeah. We were instructed at the consortium level not to work on BEAD projects or applications. So unfortunately, we don't have more information than what's publicly posted for you. Okay, next slide. So CalDEP, or the State Digital Equity Plan, the program was suspended. BCPC and the Economic Development Collaborative, which hosts BCPC, we had been working on 2 different applications aligned with the State Digital Equity Plan. And the first to really identify all of the players and elements of a regional digital equity ecosystem, county by county, but also across county lines, in order to really capture the cross-county traffic, right, of people who live in one county and work in another or attend school in another, and really try to leverage that regional approach in order to make a more efficient and impactful ecosystem to help get our folks accessed and digitally literate for the opportunities that are facing us all. The second application, the Track 2 application, which would be a statewide application, was to focus on digital literacy and access, really utilizing the EDC's digital upskilling curriculum in order to make it widely available through adult schools across the state, and really target key population groups that, whether due to language or familiarity with computers, just have an extra hurdle to overcome in order to gain basic computer skills. So even though we are not pursuing the CalDEP application at this point, what's really cool is that we've gone through this process of convening and coordinating and really building out regional relationships to serve these two goals, right? To improve digital literacy and participate in the statewide effort, but also to really look at our own internal ecosystems here in our counties and in our region. So just to share sort of the findings and the resources that really contributed to this. The first being that the community foundations in each county really stepped up to say, like, we'd be happy to help serve as a hub and a grant maker when there's funding available to support digital inclusion initiatives. And we're really grateful to the community foundations for seeing the value to our counties. And that's been a great leadership opportunity for them, and they really stepped into it throughout this application. We are hoping to continue engaging them and to continue to work in order to access that CBO network. We also started talking about the role that ISPs play in collaboration with CBOs and with public entities in order to ensure that, when you are building infrastructure and you are trying to reach households and provide service to them, that there are entities that are able to support households, helping them understand how it can impact their lives positively, for them to have an internet connection at home, how they can access your low-cost programs. I think everyone on this call, I'm pretty confident all of the ISPs on this call have low-cost programs for income-eligible households. Sometimes folks just need a little help enrolling in them, and it's helpful to have that community-based organization that can really support their understanding and access to that. We also identified a few different resources. The UCSB's comm department has recently completed a study on Santa Barbara County low-income households. How do they access tech support, right? You have a computer, it was great, and then it stopped working. How do you get support for that if it's not an Apple that you can take, a Mac that you can take to the Apple store, And so really looking at what opportunities are available and how we might set up digital navigator networks in order to leverage the reality of how people are accessing tech support. The hot take is that they're actually getting it from their friends and family most often. They're asking friends and family for help. Organizations that provide this type of digital navigator service tend to say, go to the library. Everyone should go to the library. And that's actually not where the majority of folks were going. They were really turning to their neighbors or their friends or their younger family members. We wanted to elevate also the CETF call centers. CETF is a statewide organization, California Emerging Technologies Fund. They have a network of call centers that can help households enroll in a low-cost plan that is in their area. So if a household or an individual calls the CETF call center, they will look up what the low-cost offers are in their area. They will get on the phone with them and help them enroll in that plan. They also are able to support assessing each individual with at a base digital literacy level. To what degree are they able to utilize the internet access once they have it, and then refer them over to digital literacy training in their area. These are a great resource for those municipalities on the call here. CETF is able to coordinate a direct notification campaign with you. If you're interested in participating in that, you can contact any of us with BCPC. We'll be happy to connect you to the CETF person that can help set that up, where essentially you send out mailers actually, or maybe text message through your public systems, or send out emails through your public systems notifying folks about this opportunity, and then they set up a direct line that can be specifically like a phone number specific to your area that can be distributed on those direct notifications, and then they will actually track the use and the progress and the enrollment on your behalf. So I just wanted to share out those sort of regional opportunities that we did identify. We are hoping to move forward if the RFA is unsuspended at any point, and we are also hoping to find ways to work on this outside of these key funding sources. Does anyone want to add to this part about the CalDEP funding? It's brand new, hot off the press information. They suspended it on Monday night or Friday. Last Friday is when CDT received their letter. Malika?
Oh, I was just gonna say, in lieu of, or, in the holding pattern of these funds, there's just still also the CASF adoption and public housing funds for
Michael, will
folks
you advance the slide
in the
one?
content as well. Oh, they're already
And
there.
Malika will take it. Go for it. Take
No,
it.
no, you go for it.
No, you go. You
Oh,
started.
Just wanted to mention that these grants are open and available. The current cycle ends in July 1st, I believe. And CETF is offering office hours for organizations or eligible applicants to go through the application process and to assist with the application process. So if you need any help connecting with that, please reach out to us and we can connect you as well.
Thank you.
I just
Michael?
wanted to add in there, I think we all know it takes a lot of work to kind of pull all these things together. And I just wanted to shout out Shelby for really pulling a lot of threads together, and then, having it stall is a big disappointment, but it's really cool to see that we have, collaboration happening in ways that we didn't before. And, I think the more that we can tie some of these threads together, the stronger our region is as a whole. So big shout out to Shelby.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of work, and it was not, it's not without benefit, right? Lasting benefit. So these public housing and adoption grants are great opportunities. They do provide for a number of the objectives we were looking at with the CalDEP funds. So making sure that there's access, particularly to the folks who maybe can't pay the full cost for your average amazing data plan, right? Or speed. But do still need access in their homes. There are ways for us to support that through community access, through providing these infrastructure grants to public housing, farm worker housing, mobile home parks, specifically mobile home parks that have a majority of residents whose income is 80% or lower than the state median income, is I think how it's written in the grant. So if you are involved with any of these types of housing, I really strongly suggest you look at the public housing grant and take CETF up on their offer for holding office hours. We also can forward to you the link to the webinar that they hosted most recently and their sample templates and sample forms that they have made available in order to support engagement with the public housing grant. The adoption grants are great also. They will fund up to 85% of the cost of a project. And there's 3 categories. There's broadband access. So really outfitting any community center that is available after school. That's what they said in the application, right? Or in the guidelines. It has to be available outside of, school hours so that families can access it. It doesn't say anything, it doesn't require you to have it during school hours, but great opportunity to serve a couple different stakeholder groups there. So community centers, education centers, libraries that need to build out their digital learning spaces. The second leg of the adoption grant is the digital literacy programs. And the third is call centers providing tech support. And you can apply for a $150,000 grant to cover costs in any of those 3 programs and receive just a basic staff review. Anything above that ask has to go before the commission. There's been very successful applications for public housing and adoption grants in our very own region. So there is experience here. If you think that this is something you're interested in engaging in, please reach out and we'll get you connected. And I think that's the end of our updates. You want to check the next screen. We're looking for updates from the rest of you. We did see the middle mile update, so we do know that there is activity happening along the way. Did anyone want to just unmute and provide any updates on projects that you're working on?
I think Brian Chong has had to hop off, but I just wanted to call to attention his work in the city of Moore Park. And last month at the April, I can't remember the exact date, but in a city council meeting last month, they approved their agreement with Aspire Broadband LLC to work with the city in building out last mile to areas that had previously only been able to be accessed via cable. And so the agreement, there are multiple, obviously lots of areas of interest for folks to check out on the city council's recordings. But we wanted to also amplify how Brian was able, or the city was able to add in a low cost language with the provider to ensure that the folks who are going to be touched on that last mile are able to access it at a rate that's reasonable with the app in the absence of ACP. But that was one of them, and additionally, access to coverage for municipal assets that guaranteed, a customer built in for the agreement party for Aspire. So I'll put in a link to the details of the agreement on there, or the city council presentation on it if folks are interested. But that is a great advancement in the city of Moore Park. And then also in Ventura County, sorry, I'm just going to jump in here. We have finalized the VRBI, the VCOG, the Ventura Council of Governments Regional Broadband Initiative report. That was the process or a product of the council's ladder grant. So that is complete, and it's going to council today for final review and approval. So hopefully by next month's advisory meeting, we can provide all the links to that content. It's also available now if you're interested in. It's about 180 pages, 2 different parts. One part is specific to the overall county, and the other part is each municipality, looking at each municipality. In addition to a last mile connections report that I think would be interesting to folks, the providers on the call, to engage, with not only your municipal partners, but also your community-based organizations, and trying to find consensus and collaboration earlier on in your application processes and your development processes, to build that sort of community stakeholder group in advance of all the efforts you're doing as well.
Thanks, Malika. And it has been a project that's been 2 years in the making. So woohoo! It's exciting that we've been able to deliver this. Jeff, did you come off mute?
Yeah, I think Josh may have left the call, but we're partnered with the city of San Luis Obispo on the FFA grant, and so we're working through our implementation with that. And always enjoy working with the city of San Luis Obispo. We've been great partners for a long time. The other one, we have the FFA grant for portions of Atascadero and Paso Robles, and we're moving forward on that. And we'll have some construction beginning up there probably about June 1st. So that's on track in both city areas and moving forward.
Great. Excellent to hear. Any other folks on the call that want to share any deployment updates? I thought I saw Kieran on the call. Did you have anything you wanted to shout out?
Hey, Shelby, I wouldn't mind sharing a quick update.
Oh, yeah.
It's not mine to share by any means. I won't take the credit for it, but I think occasionally I've seen some folks on this call from the Santa Ynez Bandit Chumash tribe. We just helped them start a deployment for their neighborhoods in their tribal area just in the last couple of weeks here. So just update on that. I think they had gotten that money from an FFA grant and they started construction this month. So just wanted to share that.
Yes, thank you for shouting that out. I live in the area and it's very exciting that that it's getting started. They seem to be really focused on making sure that they get ahead of the curve on ordering everything and making sure that it's all plugged in.
Yes, they've been very proactive. They've done a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. If we don't have any other deployment updates, we can move forward. Moving forward, we really just we're going to open it up for discussion. If there's any non-deployment projects you want to share, if there's any questions you have, if you just want to introduce yourself. I know some of you are regulars on the call and some of you join us intermittently, but you want to just share what it is that you do for networking purposes, we'd be happy to open it up right now.
Now stop share so we can see each other.
Just one thing that I can bring up that a lot of other people may run into, but it's just been a personal concern of mine is that, a lot of the wireless offerings that are being put out to consumers don't work that well. And people don't really seem to understand or have any, they think any offering that any big company makes must work. And I don't know about you guys, but I just see a lot of people who say, oh, hey, my bill on whatever provider I thought was too high, so I switched over to X wireless provider. And boy, I had all kinds of problems with that. And, my response is, of course you did. And that's a service that has a lot of limitations and it does work in certain situations, but it's not comparable to a real, full-time wired service. And most people who are professionals understand that, but a lot of consumers don't. And I'm not sure what we can do about that. But as part of our digital equity education, it might be a good idea to help people understand that. It seems to be a huge area of confusion right now.
I agree with you. And I think I think the consumer level and even at the, elected officials and some staff members who, it's not their full-time job. Right. It's not their world, right? They need to use it in order for their world to work. Mm-hmm. But I'm hearing a lot more questions about leaving it to satellite. If we have this, then why isn't that sufficient? They say they're going to solve all the problems. So I do agree that there is some education needed. And some of it is education about reading marketing materials, like where do you, where's the marketing words and where are the real, the truth of the matter. It'll be interesting to see if the BEAD regulations change to include, to prioritize other technologies, or if really we're able to maintain, if BCPC is a fiber forward, fiber first. We do understand that there's technology for every place, but really moving forward, as things start to expire and become outdated, it's important to really replace them with fiber so that they have the capacity in the future to serve all of our areas. I don't have a solution either. I was really struck when I read this article about the increase in usage of data centers pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and then after 3 years after the start of the pandemic. It's only increasing exponentially, right? Data centers are becoming more impacted. The use of AI is going to continue to make it a higher need. And I think it'll be consumer shock, right? That changes things, where they say, okay, well, I've had this low cost plan. Maybe that low cost plan helped them to improve their earning potential. And then maybe they say, you know what, now I can afford to pay for the good internet. And then over time, the market will shift. I sort of see that's where the consumer pocket is going to change. It's not going to change based on education so much as ability to do more.
It's one thing when it's BEAD, where you're dealing with politics and professionals, and to me, it's a whole thing of like, satellite doesn't need capital dollars to put, it really needs more, monthly fee, which is a whole different kind of support. That's one thing. And the other thing is when you're dealing with consumers where we have to educate folks, which kind of feeds into the whole digital equity part. Lisa appreciate. I told somebody today in San Luis Obispo, no, you need to cancel that service and go back to charter right away.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're just wasting your time, because they had tried a Verizon product and then they tried an AT&T product. And I said, yeah, you can try them all and it won't do you any good. You just need to call charter back up and sign back up again and get on with it. The other thing that's going on is, the state has mandated that cities adopt some kind of microtrenching standard. And it's very interesting, there's a huge difference in what standards those are that are being adopted or being considered. Paso Robles adopted one last week that, in our review, the requirement would be more expensive than directional boring, because it requires a grind and overlay over the top of the microtrenching. There is discretion in that the city engineer could waive that requirement if they want to, but there's no guarantee that they ever would, or the standard itself doesn't seem to do anything that would open up deployment. SLO is working on a draft that we think is quite a bit better than that. We haven't looked at other cities. I don't know if other people have been involved with other cities looking at their drafts, but I think that's one of the conflicts we're going to run into is, obviously cities have a responsibility to maintain their streets. And there hasn't been a lot of microtrenching done, and there's not a lot of experience out there. cities like to talk to other cities to get confirmation, and there's not a lot of that folks for them to talk to. And I see that as something that could slow down deployment in underground areas. You know, if the state, it's great the state kind of said you have to put in a standard. Unfortunately, they didn't say that it had to be a good one.
Yeah, and we have distributed the permitting best practices to municipalities, the GoBiz one and the SANDAG most recent version. What the SANDAG study found in their conversations with municipalities is that there's no generic practice that works for everybody. They were seeking to write a sample so that it would be easy to implement, and there's just not agreement on it. When I actually presented that study to SBCAG in Santa Barbara County and asked them, what do you think about microtrenching? What's your take on it, right? And the bigger concern was really around future projects, right? And what happens when a future project disrupts that line? Who has to pay for that? And so it's not even just about the streets. It's about the bigger liability picture.
And that happens all the time. It's usually paid for by the person who disrupts it.
Right. But if you have it 6 inches deep versus the standard, it's more likely, it's, I guess, a higher risk or something like that. So it's a tough one. I wish that there was an easy answer there, but because it seems like a great alternative to wireline and fire, or like hanging. But it just doesn't seem to be ripe for adoption yet. Malika put the link in the chat for that study that was done with the recommendations that were put forward. Okay, well, we have about a half an hour scheduled, but we are really just planning next month to do a report out on the VRBI and the last mile connections report. So tune in, come back for that. And then also we've been working with City of SLO, City of Moore Park, and City of Santa Paula in a local government best practices project funded through CETF. And so we would like to report out on that and invite those 3 cities to share their learnings and how that experience went for them, as well as what we've been working on in BCPC to support other municipalities to engage in the best practices checklist. Malika, can you put that a link to the best practices checklist up also? I think everybody on here is mostly more leaning into the ISP side. You might be interested in seeing what CETF recommends as the best practices for local municipalities. And we're working to determine, to move the needle a little bit on that. So those are our 2 topics for June. If there's any updates, of course, we'll share those on other public funding programs. In July, the CASIF infrastructure grant map theoretically will be published by the time of our meeting. If it's not, we may take a little hiatus in July and come back in August to share the map. If it's published, we'll probably take a hiatus in August and maybe do some one-on-one outreach for CASIF infrastructure applications. So we will be taking 1 month off of this meeting this summer. It just is going to depend a lot on CPUC's publishing of that CASIF infrastructure map and what you folks need in terms of support for that infrastructure grant. And other than that, we're out of topics to cover today. So if you have any questions or you want to stay on and chat, we're here. Otherwise, we thank you for your time, and we will stop the recording so the real good conversation can happen. Just kidding. But thank you for coming, truly.